Welcome to the Overflow Worship Podcast, where we serve and support leaders so you can serve and support your local church.
Today I'm going to share a really special story with you. It's the story behind my brand new song, You Already Have. It just released last week, and I could not be more excited to finally share this song with you. So I have been in some really cool conversations recently with people from really all over the globe. And, I just came off of a phone call with some worship leaders who are out on the East Coast, actually. And we were just chatting and catching up a little bit and asking for prayer for some different things going on in our lives. And, one of the things that was a common thread between all of us was that we were asking for prayers for clarity and for wisdom. And, isn't that just something that we all face at different times in our lives where we feel like, man, I just need some clarity. God, I need your wisdom to know what to do and what to face. And, sometimes for me in my life, I have really come to the Lord in vulnerability and honesty, and in my humanness wondered if he could provide for this great need that I had. Because the need was so great, because the problem was so huge, because the challenge was so difficult, I would wonder, and sometimes still do, could he come through? Does he have what I need? And of course, I know that he does. But when we are in the depths of despair or of sorrow or hardship, it's really hard to see the light. It's really hard to see what's in front of us when we feel like we're walking through the dark, when we're looking for and asking for that clarity and for God to shine a light on just the next step. And in those situations, in those times in our lives where we are completely at a loss or feeling completely in the dark, I have found in my life that I need to recite what I know to be true. What I know is absolutely true. And so I go to scripture because that's the only thing that I have that I know is absolutely true. And the beautiful thing about scripture and places like the Psalms is that they so beautifully depict and declare the truths of God, just calling them out, who he is, what he's done, how he's moved, and thanking him for it. So, last year in 2020, I found myself like, everybody else in the world, to be honest, just in a place of asking the Lord, okay, what are you doing and are you working? Do you see this? Do you see what we're going through? And of course he did, but it seemed like this problem that we were facing was so great and so huge that there was no earthly power that could fix it. It had to be him. And I got to thinking, isn't that the way that he wants it to be? Not that he wants us to be in sorrow or in hardship, but I mean our dependence on him. That no matter what we walk through, we know that there's nothing that we can do. We just have to have complete dependence on him. And so it's not by our doing, but by his alone. And, that doesn't mean that we don't do the things that he has asked us to do or use the wisdom that he has given us, right? But when it all comes down to it, at the very base and foundation of it all, we need to rely completely on him because we cannot fix things on our own. And so anyway, in the midst of 2020, there was just a lot of turmoil and angst. If I'm completely honest, I remember that we were dealing with the grocery store shelves being empty and shortages on things that we'd never had shortages on before. I mean, in my lifetime, I've never experienced that. And I know that some of you listening out there, you have. But for me, it was this place of am I going to trust God to come through and to provide for us? Or am I going to just sit here and worry? And I found myself in this place where I was just sitting and like worshiping and praying and trying to lean into the truths of Scripture. And I came across Psalm 46. And I'm just going to read the first 5 verses for you from the Passion Translation, because it is such a beautiful declaration and reminder of who God is and the power that He holds. And these verses were such a lifeline for me. I would read them and just be reminded of exactly who He is and that He is capable of taking care of even this. So Psalm 46, verse 1 through 5 in the Passion Translation. God, you're such a safe and powerful place to find refuge. You're a proven help in time of trouble, more than enough, and always available whenever I need you. So we will never fear, even if every structure of support were to crumble away. We will not fear, even when the earth quakes and shakes, moving mountains and casting them into the sea. For the raging roar of stormy winds and crashing waves cannot erode our faith in you. Pause in His presence. God has a constantly flowing river whose sparkling streams bring joy and delight to His people. His river flows right through the city of God Most High into His holy dwelling place. God is in the midst of His city, secure and never shaken. At daybreak, His help will be seen with the appearing of the dawn. So, as I meditated on those verses, God began to put this song in my heart that was around the idea that He is more than enough, because He already possesses everything that I need. I don't need to worry. I don't need to worry about what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't need to worry about provision or how everything with all that I was facing in 2020 and even now, how it's going to turn out. Because everything that I will ever face, He already possesses what I need. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And so as I began to dwell on that and just ponder that, the lyrics and melody to this song began to download to my heart that everything I need, He already has. I will lack for nothing, because all I'll ever need, He already has. And so, I had planned for April of 2020 to head down to Nashville from Minnesota and do some songwriting sessions with some friends down there. And, that couldn't happen. But I just felt so strongly in my spirit that these songs still needed to be written. I didn't want to wait. It was not impatience. It was like an urgency that God put in my spirit that it was needed to happen. And so I asked, hey, Meredith, hey, Michael, can we get on Zoom and try this on Zoom? And, it's not ideal, just for a lot of reasons you all know. I think we're all maybe a little bit sick of Zoom, but also grateful for it. But they were just like, yeah, let's do it. So Michael Farron, I had actually not met him yet in person. And so we hopped on Zoom, he and I and Meredith Andrews, and I just began to share this with them and share the scripture with them and share the idea and the little bits of lyrics and melody. And as we began to just talk and pray, it's like the melody started to pour out. And we were all in that same place together of He's gonna come through. We don't see how it's gonna happen, but I know that He is, because He possesses what we need. And so in the chorus, when it says, you are enough, you have no limits, you never run out, your love is endless, I'll sing again and again and again. It's like that reminder, even in the moments where we feel like, God, did you notice that I needed this? Or, did you run out of what I need for that? Of course not, right? He never runs out of anything. Even on earth, when we're running out of everything, really in a literal sense, right? There was no toilet paper. There was no, nothing on the shelves in the grocery stores, or very limited on, some of the basic necessities. And yet, He provided for us. And whatever that looked like for you, I just encourage you to take a minute and think about the ways that he did provide for you. Oftentimes, we focus on the things that we didn't have. Well, I lost this and I lost this and I lost this. And that's a process that you definitely need to go through, where you allow yourself to lament and grieve the things that you lost. Maybe it was a job. Maybe it was, just a celebration that you didn't get to have, or a wedding that you didn't get to have because of how 2020 went. And if you want to hear more about that, you can go back and listen to my podcast episode with Clay Scroggins, because he talked about that. But after that, then I just encourage you to look back on the things that God did. How did he provide for you? What can you be grateful for in regards to the last year and a half? And so we just began to pen this song, and really honestly, it came together pretty quickly, and we were about done. We actually had a different bridge idea, and we were just kind of like, yeah, this is great. But we were just about to sign off, and Michael just said, you know what, honestly, if I was just going to lead this song in church, I would just end it with, great is your faithfulness, you don't hold back. Great is your faithfulness, you don't hold back. And so we erased the bridge that we had and added in this beautiful, sweet, tender ending to the song that just declares, great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. You don't hold back. Because that's who he is. He's so faithful. And so this song is a declaration. This song is an opportunity to declare who he is and the truths that we know are real and are true. And it's for those quiet moments when we need to remind our hearts about the truth of God. And then it's also for those moments as a corporate church body where we need to come together and declare those truths about God. And, this song, the production, everything around it was all created with these soft, tender moments in mind. It's like I imagine in my mind just me and a piano in an old country church somewhere, just singing my heart out, just me and God. And that's what this song has been for me in the last year and a half in my hidden places. And I have sang it over my life, over my circumstances, over my struggles and joys and challenges and victories over the last year and a half. And I am so excited to finally share it with you. And my prayer is that this song will be an anthem for you, that you can just take it and sing it in your quiet time, in your prayer time, in your car, wherever, and that it would draw you into a place where you are reminded the truths of God, that he is a rock and a shelter. He knows the answers to your questions. You don't lack. You lack for nothing, because everything you're ever going to need, he already has. And my prayer is that whether you sing this in your quiet places or you sing it corporately in your church, that it unifies you and brings you together as a church body, or in your own quiet time, just lifts your soul as you declare the truths of God. So that's a little bit of the story behind the song You Already Have. I'm so excited that this song is finally available for you to listen to everywhere you listen. It came out just this last week on August 6th. And it's a really special song to me for my own personal walk, but I knew that it was time to share it with the church, because my songwriting has changed so much over the last decade, and specifically over the last 7 years, because God has grown this love for the local church in my heart. And the songs that I write are the prayers that are being prayed by the churches that I get to interact with and work with when I go in and do workshops, or I lead worship, or whatever it looks like with the local churches that I get to work with on a weekly basis. I get to hear from leaders and pastors about the challenges and the joys and the struggles and the prayers that they are praying. And so these songs have your voices in them, because they're written from that perspective. So not only is this coming from my own quiet place and my own heart, but it's also coming from the stories and the prayers that I'm hearing all over the place when I get to work with churches. So, friends, I hope that you're encouraged by the song. I would love to hear from you and hear the stories of how it's encouraging you. And I would love to hear your prayer requests. And I would love to hear just from you and the things that you are grateful for, the things that you're grateful for that God has provided for you for in the last year and a half. So, you know where to find me. I'm online at Instagram and Facebook at Andrea Olson Music, and I would just love to hear from you. So, friends, I really pray that this song is a blessing, and I'm so excited to finally share with you the song you already have. Thanks for listening, and until next time.
You've been listening to the Overflow Worship Podcast. If you enjoy our podcast, please take a moment and leave us a 5-star rating and a written review, which helps us reach more people. New episodes are released every other Monday. So until next time, thank you for listening.